Welcome to my channel. If you are new here, please don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and comment. Today, I am bringing you a tragic and deeply moving story that took place in India. This story is not a fictional movie or a scripted play. It is a true event that happened to real people. It is a story of love, shocking betrayal, and an incredibly long struggle to find justice for the victim. It carries very important lessons that are truly worth listening to. The story specifically focuses on a brave mother named Neelam Katara and the battle she fought for her son, Nitesh Katara. Neelam showed the world that a mother is the only person who will stand as the ultimate defender of her children, even when facing people with immense power and wealth. The story begins in a small city called Ghaziabad, India. Around the year 2002, this city is located near the capital, New Delhi, and is a hub for both residential and commercial activities. A 23-year-old young man named Nitesh lived in that city. Nitesh was known for being very well-mannered, and people respected him for his calm personality. He was a hard-working individual who was employed at a business establishment to support his family's livelihood. One day, Nitesh's life changed when he met a girl named Bharti. Bharti was a young woman who also lived in the same city. The two of them developed a very close friendship, which eventually turned into a bond of trust and love. They spent a significant amount of time together and communicated constantly over the phone. In the beginning, everything seemed perfect, and everyone around them saw them as a happy young couple enjoying their lives. Nitesh was a very well-mannered young man, respected by everyone for his calm and decent personality. He was a hard-working individual who strived to succeed in life, working at a business establishment to support his family at the time. After some time, Nitesh met a girl named Bharti. Bharti was a young woman who also lived in the same city. The two of them began a friendship that eventually turned into a close and trusting relationship. They spent a lot of time together, constantly communicating over the phone and meeting in person. In the beginning, everything seemed beautiful and happy, and everyone around them saw them as two young people enjoying their lives together. The relationship between Nitesh and Bharti grew much deeper, and they began to feel like two people who completed each other's lives. Despite several family obstacles, their love appeared to be stronger than anything else. They started thinking seriously about their future and how to build a life together. Nitesh believed that honesty was the key to success, while Bharti was prepared to stand by him through any situation they might face. They spent many hours dreaming of a beautiful future together, even making plans to share their intentions with their families when the time was right. The relationship between Nitesh and Bharti had strengthened significantly, but real challenges regarding their families began to surface. Bharti came from a very strict family with firm cultural and religious principles. Her family was unaware of her relationship with Nitesh, and they had planned a future for her that was different from what she wanted for herself. As time went by, Bharti started to feel a deep fear of what might happen if her family discovered their relationship. Nitesh, on his part, tried to encourage her, promising to stand by her side no matter the situation. They decided to keep their relationship a secret for a while longer until they could find a suitable opportunity to speak with their families. But the pressure from Bharti's family side began to make the situation complicated and filled with anxiety. Bharti's father was a well-known figure in the city, possessing significant influence in both politics and business. He was a powerful man whom everyone either respected or feared, firmly believing that his family's honor was the most important thing. Bharti's brother, also a power-driven young man, constantly tried to protect their reputation and was extremely cautious about who Bharti spoke to or associated with. Unfortunately, Bharti's family believed that they held the sole right to make life decisions for their daughter, especially regarding marriage and her future. This caused Bharti to live in a state of constant fear and anxiety, knowing that if her relationship with Nitesh were discovered, the consequences could be devastating. Despite Nitesh being a good and hardworking person, the vast difference between the two families in terms of power and wealth made their Relationship extremely dangerous. Barty's family was extremely powerful and well known in the city of Ghaziabad, but their reputation was something the public whispered about with caution. There were rumors that the family was involved in dark dealings and illegal activities, causing neighbors and townspeople to live in constant fear of them. Due to their immense influence over the local government and authorities, no one dared to speak out against anything the family did within the city. Nitesh, despite being a calm and well-mannered young man, was largely unaware of the true extent of the danger Barty's family posed. The local community viewed this family as ruthless, capable of harming or even killing anyone who dared to tarnish their reputation or interfere in their private affairs. Barty was trapped in a difficult position. On one hand, she loved Nitesh, but on the other, she knew her family were dangerous people who would never approve of her relationship with a young man from an ordinary background. Nitesh decided to pursue his relationship with Barty, showing no fear of her powerful family. He saw Barty as a kind and well-mannered girl, very different from the other members of her household. Nitesh believed that their love would be stronger than the vast differences in wealth and power between their two families. Over time, Nitesh's life entered a new phase. He completed his education and secured a good job at a large company in Delhi. Nitesh became the sole provider for his family after his father had to retire due to health issues. Meanwhile, Barty also finished her studies and started working at one of her father's companies in Ghaziabad. Despite their different career paths, their relationship continued to grow stronger every day, and they began making serious plans to unite their lives forever. Nitesh and Barty were now communicating day and night, and their relationship had reached a very deep level. Despite their busy work schedules, they never held back from messaging or calling each other, and Nitesh would often send various gifts to Barty to express his love. They were two individuals who had truly found each other and were planning a shared future together. Nitesh's mother, named Neelam, became aware of her son's relationship with Barty. Neelam was a kind mother who valued her son's happiness above all else. Upon seeing how much Nitesh loved Barty, she decided to support them. She dearly wished to see her son happy and viewed Barty as the right woman to share a life with him. Barty herself maintained a good relationship with Neelam and would speak to her often, which built a strong bond of trust between them. Neelam, Nitesh's mother, always had questions in her mind about how Barty, who came from such a wealthy and powerful family, would adapt to their ordinary life. She wondered if the girl truly loved her son and if she was ready to share a real life with him beyond just romance. Barty would always reassure Neelam that she loved Nitesh for who he was and was confident that he was the person to build her future with. Nitesh, on his part, spoke calmly to Barty, assuring her that their love would overcome any obstacle. He believed that Barty's love was genuine and that her father's wealth would not change her feelings. Meanwhile, there was a person named Vikas, Barty's brother. Vikas was a very dangerous and influential man in the city, and he began to grow suspicious. Informants started telling him that Barty was in a secret relationship with a young man, causing the situation to become increasingly dangerous. Vikas, Barty's brother, received accurate information regarding the secret relationship and discovered that the young man Barty was seeing was Nitesh. This came as a huge shock and sparked immense anger, as he felt that the honor and reputation of their powerful family were at stake. Barty's family believed they were the highest authority in the city, and their daughter's relationship with a man from an ordinary background felt like a major insult to them. Vikas decided to confront Barty directly to confirm the information he had gathered. When he faced her, he ordered her to end the relationship immediately, stating that he would never allow their reputation to be tarnished. Although Barty felt afraid, she tried to defend her feelings, telling her brother that she loved Nitesh and that he was a good person. However, Vikas made it clear that this matter was non-negotiable, and that he was prepared to take any measure necessary to stop this relationship, even if it meant putting Nitesh's life in danger. Barty courageously told her brother, Vikas, that Nitesh was the love of her life and that no one else could ever replace him. An enraged Vikas threatened her, ordering her to leave the house immediately while stating he would do whatever was necessary to end this relationship. Barty felt the situation was spiraling out of control and realized she had to take action to save their love before a tragedy occurred. Vikas began sending threatening messages to Nitesh, warning him to stay away from his sister or face severe consequences. Despite receiving these threats, Nitesh remained undeterred and told Barty he was willing to die for their love. These threats prompted the young couple to decide on a secret marriage, believing it was the only way to counter the threats from Vikas and her family. Rumors began spreading through the city that Barty and Nitesh were in hiding, which made Barty's family even more agitated as they searched everywhere for them. Despite the threats and strong opposition from Barty's family, their relationship did not weaken. Instead, it grew even stronger. They continued to see each other secretly, never giving up on their love since their story began in 2002. Barty and Nitesh decided to take a bold step by attending a wedding of one of their friends from the Educational Institute. The wedding was a grand event, attended by many people, including their friends and local townspeople. That night, Barty and Nitesh were very happy, spending a lot of time together, laughing and dancing with their friends. However, watching them from a distance was a man named Vishal, who was the cousin of Vikas Barty's brother. Vishal was very close to Vikas, acting as his informant or right-hand man. When he saw Barty and Nitesh together in public, he immediately realized he had the perfect opportunity to report back to Vikas and prove that the relationship was still ongoing. Vishal decided to seize the opportunity he had by spotting Barty and Nitesh together, and he plotted to lure Nitesh to a secluded spot to carry out her brother's orders, pretending to be an ordinary guest. He approached Nitesh and said, "Please follow me. I want to speak with you privately and show you something important." Nitesh, having no suspicions since he was at a party filled with his friends, agreed to follow Vishal, moving away from the large crowd. Vishal was intoxicated and reckless about the harm he was causing, leading Nitesh into a dark area far from the eyes of the public. Once Nitesh realized the place he was taken to was deserted, he began to feel fear and suspicion, wondering what this man wanted and why he had brought him there. Attempting to defend himself, he asked Vishal what he wanted, but Vishal responded ruthlessly, revealing that he had come to fulfill the previous threats made by Barty's family. That night turned into a tragedy. While Neelam, Nitesh's mother, waited at home for her son until 3 a.m., eventually hearing a knock at the door and hoping it was her son returning. When Neelam, Nitesh's mother, heard a knock at the door at 3 a.m., she hoped it was her son, but instead, she found his friend who informed her that Nitesh had not yet returned. A deeply worried Neelam called Barty to ask about her son's whereabouts, but Barty answered through tears, saying she did not know where he was. Barty mentioned that she last saw Nitesh leaving with Vishal, her cousin, and after that moment, he had completely disappeared. Neelam immediately realized something terrible had happened. Keeping in mind the previous threats made by Vikas Barty's brother, she decided to go to the police station to report her son missing. However, the police officers treated her coldly, stating that a case could not be opened until 24 hours had passed. Neelam felt that the police were hesitating because of Barty's powerful family, which only increased her fear and desperation regarding her son's safety. When Neelam, Nitesh's mother, asked Nitesh's friend about his whereabouts, he replied that Nitesh had left with Vishal, Barty's cousin, and he hadn't seen him since. A panicked Neelam called Barty several times, but Barty answered through tears, saying she had no idea where Nitesh was. Barty confirmed that the last time she saw him was when Vishal called him over, and after that, all contact was lost. Since Neelam was already aware of the threats from Vikas Barty's brother, she immediately rushed to the police station to report her son kidnapped or missing. However, the police treated her very poorly. They told her they couldn't take any action until 24 hours had passed. Neelam refused to accept this, insisting her son was in danger, but the police officers refused to even file a report, acting as if they were indifferent to the situation. The police officers responded to Neelam mockingly, saying, "Do you think we are paramedics or people who find lost children? Your son is a grown man, not a small child for whom a case can be opened before 24 hours have passed." When Neelam left the station in despair, she began searching for her son on her own, visiting every place she thought he might be. She called Barty again, pleading for the truth, as she was certain that Vishal and Vikas knew exactly what had happened to Nitesh. Bharti informed Neelam that Vishal was the last person to speak with Nitesh. But Vishal was now with her brother Vikas. Neelam managed to get Vikas's number and tried calling him several times, but Vikas did not answer. Seeing Nitesh's mother's situation, Bharti felt a deep sense of dread, realizing that her brother and Vishal had carried out a horrific plan, and she wondered how she could help Neelam while she herself was paralyzed by fear at home. After 24 hours had passed, Neelam returned to the police station to file a formal report, but the officers continued to hesitate, clearly showing they did not want to interfere in the affairs of Bharti's powerful family. Desperate and losing faith in the police, Neelam decided to turn to the media and the public to pressure the authorities. She began distributing Nitesh's photo on social media and throughout the neighborhoods, pleading for help in finding her son. Meanwhile, Bharti was in a dire situation. She discovered that her brother Vikas had ordered Vishal to take Nitesh to a deserted area outside the city to teach him a lesson. Bharti tried to leave the house to help Neelam, but her family locked her in a room and confiscated her phone to prevent her from contacting anyone. Bharti's greatest fear was that her brother would not stop at just threats, but had actually carried out something far worse than simple physical assault. When Neelam saw that the police were not going to help her, she decided to take action on her own. She went to Vikas's Bharti's brother's house to demand the whereabouts of her son. Neelam stood at the front gate, weeping and pleading for Nitesh to be returned to her. However, Vikas, displaying immense cruelty and arrogance, told Neelam that he knew nothing about her son and threatened that if she didn't leave his property, he would call the police to have her removed. Neelam realized that Vikas was definitely the one behind everything, but his power made him untouchable. At the same time, Bharti, who was locked in her room, heard Neelam's cries and tried to scream from the window to help, but her family restrained her. Bharti felt a profound sense of despair, knowing she held vital information about Vishal being the last person to take Nitesh. Yet her inability to leave the house forced her to watch Nitesh's mother being humiliatingly driven away from their home. The police began questioning everyone who was present at the wedding, as there were witnesses who saw Nitesh getting into a car with Vishal that night. Initially, some witnesses hesitated to speak out of fear of Bharti's family, but under pressure, a few admitted they saw Vishal forcing Nitesh away. Neelam, who knew no rest, stood at the police station and in public squares every day, seeking justice for her missing son. 6 days after the incident occurred, the police finally apprehended Vikas and Vishal as they were attempting to flee the city. After extensive interrogation and pressure, Vikas eventually confessed that he had ordered the murder of Nitesh to defend his family's honor. He stated that he viewed the relationship between Bharti and Nitesh as an insult to their family name, and therefore decided to eliminate Nitesh so he would never see his sister again. Vikas provided details of the brutality he inflicted upon Nitesh. He stated that seeing Nitesh and Bharti together at the wedding triggered an uncontrollable rage in him. He and Vishal took Nitesh to a deserted area outside the city. Once there, they began to beat him mercilessly, eventually striking him several times on the head with a hammer until he passed away. To hide the evidence, Vikas confessed that they threw Nitesh's body into an incinerator area and poured gasoline over it to burn it. He claimed he believed this act was necessary to save his family's honor, as he viewed Nitesh as someone beneath them who dared to have a relationship with his sister. When Neelam heard this horrific confession, she fell into a state of shock and mourning, realizing that her only son was murdered simply for the sake of true love. As the investigation continued, Vikas attempted to change his statement or act as if he were innocent, but the police possessed audio and video recordings of his initial confession. It emerged that Vikas believed he was above the law, telling officers that he shouldn't be arrested for defending his family's honor. However, investigators demonstrated that the evidence at hand was clear, and that confession was a key element of the case. Meanwhile, Bharti's family tried to use their financial and political influence to suppress the case, claiming that Vikas's confession was obtained under duress. But the media impact and public pressure, led by Neelam, made it impossible for the police to ignore the case. Bharti, who was eventually released from house arrest, decided to testify against her brother, stating that he had constantly threatened Nitesh and promised to kill him. The case entered a new phase when attempts to manipulate the evidence surfaced. It was discovered that Vikas and his family had tried to bribe high-ranking officials to delete the confession recordings, but those efforts failed after parts of the confession were leaked to the media. The public began staging protests outside the courthouse, demanding that Vikas and Vishal be sentenced to death to serve as an example to others who commit honor killings. Neelam, despite her immense suffering, became the face of the struggle for justice in the city. She sat in front of government offices every day, holding Nitesh's photograph. On her part, Bharti faced intense pressure from her family, who viewed her as a traitor because she refused to defend her brother. However, Bharti insisted that she would never forgive her brother Vikas, and was prepared to send him to prison to at least provide some solace to Nitesh's mother. The trial of Vikas and Vishal became a major topic of discussion throughout the country, with people eagerly awaiting the verdict for this horrific crime. Bharti's family tried every possible tactic to save their son, employing expensive lawyers who attempted to cast doubt on the police evidence. They argued that Vikas's confession was coerced and that there were no eyewitnesses who directly saw the act of murder as it took place. However, the prosecution presented the court with concrete evidence that was difficult to deny. They brought forward the remains of ash and bones found at the incinerator site, which underwent DNA testing and were confirmed to be those of Nitesh. Additionally, the mobile phones of Vikas and Vishal provided data showing they were present at that location on the night the crime occurred. This technical evidence, combined with Bharti's courageous testimony, cornered the lawyers defending the killers. Just as the case seemed to grow complicated, a new and unexpected witness emerged. A motorcyclist who was traveling on the night of the incident came forward to the police, stating that his bike had broken down on a deserted road. While attempting to fix it, he saw a parked car from which 3 men exited. He reported hearing screams and noise, and as he approached, he witnessed 2 men, Vikas and Vishal, beating a 3rd man lying on the ground, Nitesh. The witness confirmed seeing Nitesh being forcefully thrown into the trunk of the car before being driven toward the incinerator site. Initially, he was too afraid to speak because he recognized Vikas's face as a prominent figure in the city. But after seeing Neelam, Nitesh's mother, weeping on television, he decided his conscience would not allow him to remain silent. This testimony made the case undeniable in court, as it provided an independent eyewitness account. The motorcycle witness further explained that he saw a black car carrying 3 men, including a victim who was being held by force. He noted hearing a heated argument and death threats being directed at the victim. The witness stated that he attempted to get closer to understand what was happening, but when he saw the weapons and knives carried by the attackers, he retreated out of fear. He added that he witnessed Vikas and Vishal throwing the victim Nitesh into a dark pit, after which they poured a foul-smelling liquid over him, which later appeared to be gasoline used to burn the body. The witness confirmed that he remembered the killers' faces clearly, as his motorcycle's light hit them as they exited the vehicle. This testimony dismantled the defense of Vikas's lawyers and revealed the sheer brutality of the crime to the court. As the investigation progressed, it was revealed that Bharti had suddenly disappeared, leading investigators to ask her family about her whereabouts. Her father claimed that she had traveled abroad, specifically to London, to continue her studies. However, it was discovered that Bharti had actually been sending secret emails and messages implicating her brother, stating that her father was aware of the crime and had supported the act. This indicated that the crime, which occurred in 2006, involved more people than initially thought. The police began searching for Bharti everywhere, as her name was now on the list of wanted suspects. Nitesh's family and Neelam reported this information to the government, labeling Bharti a fugitive criminal trying to escape justice. Now, justice seems to face new challenges as the perpetrator's family tries to hide their daughter from the law. After receiving guarantees from the police and the government, Nitesh's family decided to pursue the case to the very end to secure justice. Bharti was later brought back to court to testify against her brother, Vikas, and her father. Bharti while weeping, initially confessed before the court that her brother had killed Nitesh and that her father was involved in the plan, which shocked everyone present. However, once the trial officially commenced, Bharti changed her stance and denied everything regarding her relationship with Nitesh since 2002. She claimed she never loved Nitesh and that they were merely fellow students, even denying the threatening messages found earlier. Neelam, Nitesh's mother, was devastated by Bharti's reversal, viewing it as another betrayal to save her criminal family. The court then presented photographs showing the actual relationship between Bharti and Nitesh to expose her lies. Inside the courtroom, the atmosphere became extremely tense as Bharti began to retract her previous statements. Despite the existence of photographs and evidence showing their relationship, Bharti insisted that she had no romantic involvement with Nitesh and claimed she was a victim caught in a matter she knew nothing about. Vikas's defense attorney tried to use Bharti's reversal as an opportunity to dismiss the charges, arguing that if there was no actual relationship, there would be no motive for Vikas to kill Nitesh. However, the prosecution introduced a surprise piece of evidence. They brought forward one of Vikas's close friends, who confessed that Vikas had consulted him on how to burn the body to prevent identification. This witness stated that Vikas told him he had cleaned the family's filth. Neelam, Nitesh's mother, who was sitting in the court at the time, stood up in the room with screams and tears, labeling Bharti a heartless person who sold out the blood of the person who loved her to save her murderer's brother. Neelam's, Nitesh's mother, struggle was not in vain after many years of seeking justice. Even though Bharti tried to hide the truth, the reality of their relationship became clear and undeniable. The court discovered that Bharti had married another man in 2009, attempting to start a new life and forget the blood of Nitesh shed by her brother. Finally, the judiciary issued the long-awaited verdict against the criminals. The court sentenced Vikas and Vishal to life imprisonment after being found guilty of the premeditated murder of Nitesh. One of the perpetrators was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole, while the other was sentenced to 20 years in prison. Neelam felt some relief. Although her son would not return, she succeeded in making the killers an example of justice. Despite the initial verdict, the criminals did not give up. In 2011, Vikas and Vishal filed an appeal against their life sentences. The High Court reviewed the case, and additional charges were added regarding the manipulation of evidence and threats made toward witnesses. Their appeal efforts faced a setback when the court decided that the life sentence would be served without the possibility of early release, adding an extra 25 years of imprisonment. In 2015, the criminals once again attempted to receive a lighter sentence, but the Supreme Court maintained that their crime was too heinous. Ultimately, their sentence was adjusted from 30 years to 25 years, but this did not change the fact that they would grow old behind bars. Despite numerous appeals, the perpetrators realized there was no other way to escape justice, with expectations that they would remain in prison until 2037 unless further changes occur. Neelam, the mother who never gave up, succeeded in restoring her son's dignity and the justice he deserved. As the criminals now face the consequences of their actions, Neelam became an example for every mother who fights for her children's rights, even when facing powerful individuals. This story is not just about crime and murder, but a story about a mother's love and her endurance through any situation to reclaim the truth. Neelam lost her son, but she achieved a significant legal victory, which became an inspiration for many who had previously lost hope in the justice system. Now, a voice within her tells her that she has fulfilled her duty with honor, and her son now rests in justice. Every day that Neelam, Nitesh's mother, recalls the tragedy, tears fall, reflecting the pain and longing she feels for her son. But at the same time, her courage to face the world grows stronger. Neelam became a person who feared no one, standing bravely against powerful individuals who tried to obstruct justice. Those who initially viewed her as a weak and grieving person later realized she possessed an unbreakable iron will. When it comes to the protection of her children, Neelam proved that a mother could be an unstoppable force. Despite the immense suffering she endured, she fought to ensure justice for her son, dedicating her entire life to making sure the law caught the perpetrators. This is evidence that a mother's love is the strongest force in the world, capable of overcoming even the most powerful foes when the truth is on her side. Neelam Katara became a symbol of inspiration and courage, showing society that anyone can achieve justice if they fight for it. This tragic story of her son, Nitesh's murder changed the country's legal system and led to a stricter look at crimes related to honor killings. Neelam believes that although her son will not return, she has succeeded in saving many young people who might have died for true love in the future. As criminals now know they cannot escape the law, Neelam's fight for justice lasted for over 14 years, but she never lost her hope. She showed the world that a mother is the ultimate defender of human rights. Today, Nitesh Katara's name is remembered not just as a victim,